When you think about this loneliness, it's really like, how do we connect people in authentic ways? And I find that
Myles Farmer here today, and here are some key points that, after doing some research, learning a little bit about Myles, that I would have that I think you would too. So, how do we affect loneliness, and what's the difference between being alone and lonely? Because Myles has interesting story with his transition from a few different entrepreneurial journeys. So I'm excited to jump into that. And in particular with the new entrepreneurial journey, how do saunas and ice baths and breath work help us live a better life and kind of work towards becoming the best version of ourselves? And one of the things that Myles has talked to me about is peak experiences. So I'm kind of curious, through your journey, his journeys of from entrepreneurship, what are some of the key components that he uses to design peak experiences? And a little bit about Myles. He's a trailblazing entrepreneur. He's been doing entrepreneurship since he was 23 years old. He's owned multiple Tim Hortons, which I had to Google because it's one of Canadians' favorite coffee places. If you're not familiar, I wasn't. So he's owned some top nightclubs in Toronto, and he's a co-founder of a PR firm called Blue Door Communications, and he even worked as a managing partner of Barbanti Capital, a private equity firm. So, and then Myles made a transition. After facing some personal challenges, he decided to go on a journey and committing to a new project that impacted lives, and particularly during the global pandemic when he made this big change. He has a passion for wellness and a vision for fostering awe and belonging, which I love that. Myles now has co-founded Othership, a groundbreaking physical and digital platform dedicated to shifting the states of mind and offering peak experiences. So, Myles, man, I really appreciate you being here.
Thanks, Andrew. I'm excited to be here and share my story.
Absolutely, brother. So tell us a little bit about like that journey that is forecasted there and what that was like for you, and maybe like the Reader's Digest version of kind of like your backstory here.
Yeah, I guess we'll start with, graduating university, coming to Toronto for the first time. I started a Tim Hortons franchise business. If people that don't know what Tim Hortons is, it's the leading quick service restaurant brand here in Canada. They have 10,000 plus locations, and so I opened my first one at 23 and grew that business to 8 locations. At the time, I kind of was really feeling that it kind of was repetitive for me, and so I was looking for kind of the next step up. And for me, I knew a lot of people from the city and the entertainment industry, and I actually invested in my first nightclub at around 24, 25, and got my foot in the door there and started in that industry. And with that, I ended up building 4 different private label restaurant brands. One of the largest ones is called Barrow. It's actually an entertainment complex, 15,000 square feet, has 2 restaurants, a nightclub, cocktail lounge, and event center. And so our approach in the entertainment side was really this layered approach. So people they come for dinner. We have alternative for them for after dinner. It's the nightclub, maybe it's the cocktail lounge, the rooftop restaurant. And we built 3 or 4 of those here in Toronto. And also at the same time, we noticed a gap in the PR side of things, and we took an opportunity to launch what is called Blue Door Communication, which is a hospitality focused communication and PR firm. And I did this for, I would say, about 8 years. Around 31, I kind of hit a wall personally. And so for me, I was doing, all these ventures, and the stress was extremely high. And I was really living the lifestyle of, being in entertainment and that side of things. And I noticed at the time I was really, really unhappy. And, from the outside in, people looking at what I was doing, they really couldn't understand why I was unhappy. But when you're really in that lifestyle, you're going out, 4 or 5 times a week, you're drinking a lot, you're partying a lot. It's really emotionally and mentally draining. And for me, at 31, I just kind of hit a wall on my birthday, and I was like, I don't want to do this for the next 20 years. I'm really not passionate about it. It doesn't really align for me in regards to, like, I really was looking for happiness, and it wasn't bringing me happiness anymore. And so I had to make a pretty tough decision. And it took a lot of deep soul searching. I was telling you before, Andrew, I did a trip to Peru and spent a week in the jungle, and with some psychedelics, and I came back with absolute clarity that this wasn't for me. And so I, at the time, announced my departure from what was, extremely scary situation. You're leaving a very successful business, a successful partnership that's growing, and starting over at 31. For me, looking back, that was probably one of the scariest moments of my life.
What were you most scared of when you made that transition?
Yeah, for me, it was kind of a lot of self-doubt. Like, could I start something new? Is this a mistake? You're in a comfortable position. You've built something for a decade almost, and you're starting over. Like, you don't have a team around you. You don't have an idea, really. And you're really just kind of like, in order to open a new door, you really do need to shut the last one. And so for me, shutting that was like the most, the biggest decision of my life, at least up to this point. And then you're sitting in a room with a computer by yourself, and so you're really just starting over, and it's scary at the moment because you really don't know what the future holds, but you know that you're on the right path. Like, I really felt it inside of me, and I felt like this was the right decision for me. But at the time, you have a lot of self-doubt, and it takes a lot of time to really kind of work through that process and start something else, and you don't even know what the outcome will be.
So how did the ayahuasca experience contribute to the clarity when you came back? Like, what was that like from why you did it and when you're there, and kind of what you came back? It's an experience that I'm curious about, so I'd love to get your lens on it.
Yeah, and so my best friend at the time was going through some personal struggles himself with alcohol and drugs, and I saw a massive shift in him. He did it a year before, ended up coming back, and is now 6 years sober. And I saw the outcome of what that did for him. And leading up to my decision to go to that, I really was struggling with the departure. Like, I was, trying not to drink, trying not to, get my head involved in that side of the business. And I kept on failing. And I realized that I really needed to shift the state of mind and how I was thinking, my perspective on things. And so I think the most simplest way to really articulate what an ayahuasca does, or did for me personally, is imagine you're going through life, and life is a ski hill, and every day you're going down the ski hill and you're creating these roots, these moguls, and these things as you go through life just keep building up, and it's harder and harder to really see and make those changes because you're so used to it, you're so comfortable in that path. And so what an ayahuasca did for me, it's like, imagine you're waking up one day and there's a snowstorm, and you're now at the top of the hill, and there's really no paths anymore. And so it's, where do you really want to go with your life? And it gave me absolute clarity that I didn't want to do this anymore. And for me personally, it just didn't really align with me. And so I needed to, make some tough choices and decisions. And it allowed me really to go ahead and do that.
So you came back, and then now you're like, okay, I need to do something that aligns with my values, who I want to become. How did the evolution of Othership kind of come into the picture? And tell us a little bit about Othership.
Yeah, and so I came back. It took some time to really depart that role and that partnership. And then I started doing research in a number of different industries, cannabis, prop tech in general. And to be honest, I did that for about 8 or 9 months and really came up with nothing. During that time, I was going to these Russian bathhouses. It's like a traditional Russian bathhouse on the outskirts of the city, and I would use that as an alternative to a Friday or Saturday night for myself, because I really was trying to keep my head focused and live a different, healthier lifestyle, I guess I would say. And there's 2 things I noticed about that experience. One is it's extremely difficult to get people to come with me. They would look at the website, they would look at the location, like, where are you taking me? What is this? Even when they got there, it was really aesthetically not pleasing. There was no information of why we were doing this, why we're doing the hot, why we're doing the cold. So that was an interesting observation. And I also noticed when they did come with me, they loved it. And so they would come, they would have this experience, and then at the end of it, they're like, I feel incredible. I had a great night. You spent 2 hours with someone, you really connected with them, and they wanted to share that experience with their friends and their family. And so I realized that the product, the hot and the cold, these modalities, was incredible. It was just really the delivery of that, and the accessibility of it, being on the outskirts, no information of what we're doing or why and what's happening within your body, within your mind. And so that was kind of the spark for me to kind of create a new social experience around the hot and cold, kind of like an alternative to a nightclub or a restaurant. The ability to go out and socialize without having to drink, without having to be in situations where maybe you're kind of growing out of that. And so there really is no option in my mind. If you think about fitness, going to a fitness class, it's not really a social experience. You might say hi to someone at the beginning and you might have a 5-minute conversation with someone, but going to one of these facilities or something different really interested me. And so that was kind of the grassroots of how Othership was born.
So paint a picture. I've never been to a Russian bathhouse before.
Yeah.
So what exactly? I mean, I think I have an idea from like movies and that kind of stuff, but there's a lot of times in life where like movies don't align up with how real life is. So,
yeah.
Like, what exactly is a Russian bathhouse? Just for clarity here.
Yeah, absolutely. So a Russian bathhouse, they typically have 1 or 2 saunas, a steam room, and a cold plunge. They offer food. They actually serve alcohol there as well. And so you go there for about 2 to 3 hours. You get a robe, you put your phone away, and you just do circuits. And so you'll do a hot and cold circuit. Sometimes they have Venik, which is the leaves they paddle you with. And you're really just completely, what I noticed is that every time we went there, we would have really deep and authentic conversations. So if you think about what's happening, is you're going into this extreme environment, your phone's away, you're really present, you're not thinking about your to-do list or having basically a false or very surface level conversation. So if you kind of back that up to a restaurant, you're drinking, it's loud, like what are you really talking about? Is it really getting deep? And I found that when we went to these bathhouses, you're really going into these deep conversations, authentic conversations, and really getting to know the people you're with. And so a traditional Russian bathhouse is basically that. You're going in for 2-3 hours, you're having these circuits, there's food options, drinks, and then you go home and you relax.
So what is like the benefits that you've found or you've seen for experiences like this, and how did it help you? I mean, I love the community and the connection component, and because I think that there's just not enough of that in today's world with Zooms and technology and cell phones and all that bullshit.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of curious on like the actual physical, what it does to your body, right, and how it makes you feel. And from your experience and the experience that the people that you guided through this process.
Yeah, absolutely. And so before we launched Othership, we did a lot of research around the hot and cold, what is physically happening, what is mentally happening. We can start with the cold. And so at Othership, we have ice baths. They're about 2 degrees. When you enter into an ice bath, you have a natural forming chemical in your body called norepinephrine. That's actually tripled. It has a massive effect on your mood, vigilance, attention, energy. And so think about going into this ice bath and you have this complete change in your body and how you feel, right? It's like almost like all your stress is washed off of you. Your metabolism actually turns on, so you're actually burning fat, white caloric fat. That's one of the hardest fats to actually burn within your body. And you're boosting your immune system. So physically, those are kind of the main 3 benefits. You also have something called what's cold shock proteins released into your brain. And so physically, that's what's happening. But what's mentally happening is you're going into this extreme environment and your body goes into a fight or flight response. And your body's saying, hey, I'm in danger. you need to exit the situation, but it's allowing you to create space between an emotional reaction and your reaction. And so you have this extreme physical, effect happening with you, and you're allowing your body to observe that, relax, and you can take this practice to other parts of your life. And so you have like anger, frustration, all these things hit everybody every day. And how do you react to that? Do you instantly snap on someone when you have anger, or can you just observe that and breathe through that? And it's changed the way how I regulate my own emotions. And so that's very interesting about the ice baths, and the saunas have its own properties, right? And so if you think about what's happening in a sauna, your circulatory system is opening, and in an ice bath it's closing, and you're having these physical and mental reactions around that. And so in a sauna, you have your detoxifying. Saunas have been linked to longevity and it's overall health. And so there's a study at a University of Finland. They followed around 2,500 participants for 20 years and found profound health differences from people that went to no saunas to 4 to 7 times a week. So all-cause mortality reduced by 50%, dementia and Alzheimer's 65%. And so the longevity and the health effects of being in a sauna in these extreme conditions is really profound over a lifetime.
So how, like we talked, the peak experiences, I think that's really intriguing to me. I like the scientific components of the ice bath stuff. I have one of our initial guests was the founder of Ice Barrel, and they sent me an ice barrel, and I've been using it, not so much over the winter because it got down to like 34 degrees. But so I tried it once and I haven't gone back, but now it's spring's here. I'm going to try it out again, but I haven't gotten into the sauna. Now, like, I'm getting Facebook ads that are following me around about these like sauna sleeping bags and all different kind of home sauna kits and that kind of stuff. So, because a lot of the stuff that like Andrew Huberman and Tim Ferriss are talking about these things quite a bit. So it's really kind of creating this cool momentum towards, I guess they're holistic. They're kind of holistic modalities to reduce stress and improve longevity and all that stuff. So, I love that stuff.
Yeah.
So when you think about Othership and creating those peak experiences, how does that kind of play into this whole adventure?
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think just what Othership is, we have physical spaces in a digital platform. And so in the physical space, it's about a 6,000 square foot studio space. We have an 85 person performance sauna. So you think about a sauna with a light system, sound system, 8 ice baths in a tea room. And we have 3 offerings. So one is guided classes, and you can think about the classes as an emotional regulated class. So it can be uplifting, energizing, it can be down-regulated, more meditative, relaxing, shedding, and then we have what's called all around, which is a mix of both. And so you're coming into a class, everyone basically starts in the tea room, 65 people go into the sauna, they do a 20-minute sauna. In that sauna, it can be a combination of breath work, it could be screaming, it could be stretching. You're really going through this peak experience and you're really pushing yourself. And so it's not a very comfortable situation, especially towards the end of the sauna, but you're going through this intense emotional experience, intense physical experience as this group. And then you're exiting that and you're doing a 2-minute ice bath. Everyone does the ice baths and then they finish off in the sauna. And so that's one offering. We also do what's called socials. So it's kind of like an alternative to a Friday, Saturday night. We usually have like house music playing in the background. It's more uplifting. And so people come there and use it as an alternative to a restaurant or a bar. And people are just there really just socializing, meeting people, doing circuits together. And then throughout the day, we have bathhouse access, which is called free flow. You have the 75 minutes to yourself. There's guides on site. And so you're going through these peak experiences with people, and it's really kind of doing a number of things. So you're coming through and you're having these physical and emotional reactions, but you're also doing it as a community, and you're connecting with people that are like-minded. And so, you're putting your phone away for 75 minutes or 2 hours, depending on what session you choose. and you're going through this experience with strangers, and people are just opened up. They've met people, they've become best friends. And so when you think about this loneliness, it's really like, how do we connect people in authentic ways? And I find that when you go to a nightclub or a restaurant or to a fitness class, it's really not really authentic connections. It's really just very like surface level, and you might talk about things, but it's really, there's distractions, there's alcohol, you have your phone. And so you're having these genuine connections with people, you're meeting new friends, and people are coming 3 to 4 times a week. And so you're starting to see the same people there. And so Othership really is creating, a vessel for people to come for a number of reasons, and helping them not only with their physical benefits, but the mental benefits, and also the community and the loneliness that I think there's there is a loneliness epidemic, I believe, going on. And I think a lot of that was really, I guess, magnified during COVID. And so people are really looking to connect again and finding new ways, especially healthy ways, to do that.
I mean, I'm so glad you mentioned the loneliness component, because I think that there's a lot of people out there that even though they're surrounded by a bunch of human beings, they still feel lonely. And I feel that same thing, to where I think that when I'm out socializing at events or whatever, and you just have surface level conversation that really doesn't mean anything. It's like, oh, the weather, oh, the sports, all the kids and all that stuff. And it's just like, man, I just really wish somebody would ask me some real questions. Like, hey man, how are you really doing? What are your fears? What are you working towards? What are you excited about? All those components that, like, how often do we get asked those questions?
Yeah.
So it's a struggle. I mean, especially for men. I mean, I think that as men, we're so used to surface communication, and it's almost like an epidemic towards, like, just men can't connect. I mean, what have you noticed in yourself from like where you were before to where you are now in your abilities to connect, and your overall happiness and fulfillment, from more the experience of this transformation and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, for me, I think when people ask me how I'm doing, I'm really more authentic. Like I think when you hit it on the nail there. It's like you go around, hey, how's it going? Oh, great. Like everyone always, reverts back to that. We have a class actually called Emotions A to Z, where we ask everyone in the class to say an emotion that they're feeling at the beginning of class and at the end of class. And it's really interesting to see those answers. At the beginning, people are like, oh, great, energized. And then some people are like, I'm stressed. Like I'm anxious. People are going through challenges. Everyone is really going through these challenges, and it's better for everyone to just really be open and authentic and understand, like, we're all kind of struggling. Everyone's struggling with something, and we're all just trying to figure it out. And so the more you can realize that, and that you're not alone in that, and you're in a community. And so I've noticed in my personal life, I'm just more authentic and more real with these conversations. It's allowed me to really tap into, like, I don't always have to be okay. And sometimes you're not having a good day and you are anxious and you don't know all the answers. And so that's okay. And you could coming to these places, like a place like Othership, it's kind of like you realize that you're not alone and that everyone is really in this with you.
I mean, I think that with Othership, I just want to give you guys props on what you're doing. I've never been to your experiences in Toronto, and I think you're opening one up in New York, right? Or it's in the process?
Yeah, we're opening. We have one open in Toronto, opening a second one in Toronto, and then 2 in New York. One will be in Flatiron and another one in Williamsburg. And so, yeah, we're trying to really bring this to the masses and really kind of shift this new, what I think is a trend that's going to take hold in North America, is these new experiences, these new social experiences, and really just the sauna culture in general being kind of pushed out to the masses of people are realizing this hot and cold therapy is profoundly healthy for you, both mentally and physically. And you're seeing it now with like Joe Rogan and all these other people who are really promoting it. And it's really not clear or it's not really well known, like why do we go in the ice bath? Why do we do a sauna? And as that becomes more, I guess, mainstream, people will realize that this stuff is really important to incorporate in your life.
So for the men not living in Toronto or New York,
yeah,
how can they take advantage of maybe the methodology or the theories behind the methodology to incorporate? Because I think that you're right, that there's a lot of lonely guys out there where it's like, I wish I just had some closer friends. I got my work friends and I have my family, but it's like building that connection. I mean, what would you tell these men to do to help, take these steps without necessarily having the experience at the Othership locations?
Yeah. No, I mean, for me, it was the Russian bathhouse, and I think in every city there's something there. There's usually bathhouses or a combination of a spa or something like that. That for me was a pretty profound difference in my life. Is really just going and having, instead of going out and having 10 drinks and going to a bar and having those nights and then feeling terrible after, is really just try to connect with people. Put your phone away for 2 hours and talk to someone. Just really do something healthy. Go for a walk with someone. Just really try to connect with your friends, your family, and spend the time being present. I found that was a big thing for me, and really incorporating these health and wellness routines in your life to make yourself, everyone's really in their head. They're really creating these stories in their head. We also have a digital app, and so we have a breathwork app. It's kind of like a Calm Headspace insight timer for breathwork, 500 plus curated videos curated sessions. So it can be for anxiety, sleep, depression. We also have group chats. When you join the community, there's communities within Othership, and just look for those communities within your own city or wherever you live. Obviously, New York and Toronto is not really accessible for a lot of people, but I think this stuff exists in every city. You just really need to search it out.
Yeah, I like that intentional mindset, because I think that we get so stuck in our own routines and our own busyness and with our families and work and all that stuff that there might be something in your backyard to explore and to seek out. And if it is a Russian bathhouse or even a spa or that kind of stuff that isn't necessarily traditionally the most masculine place to go for men, but who cares, right? Just get over yourself. I'm glad you mentioned the app. I'm a huge believer in the app. I've used it for a while. I heard it, one of the other co-founders on the Great Man Within podcast, and it's something that I've integrated in particular on days where I'm at a low point or super overwhelmed. And I'd done yoga a little bit, and I started hearing like the Wim Hof method stuff, and it sounded really kind of outlandish. and then I started the Othership app. Well, first I started the ice bath. I got the ice plunge thing, and then I got into the Othership app, and man, it's amazing how you feel when you just have some intentional focused breathing for just 5 or 6 minutes. You almost feel the high of being drunk or having an edible or something like that, but just without anything else. And I feel amazing whenever I do it. For some reason, I don't do it often enough, or I don't know why that is, but but I really appreciate that option. If from just a stress release or anxiety or overwhelm or anger or frustration, it's kind of cool because they have like a morning thing where you can wake up in the morning, and they have an evening thing if you need to de-stress a little bit. It's a pretty cool app. So just wanted to plug it a little bit there for a second.
Yeah. And for your listeners, if they don't know what breathwork is, a good way to think about it is like an active form of meditation. And so for me, meditation was always hard. It's hard to sit in a room and just really not think about anything. And when you do breath work, it really just kind of forces you into this like parasympathetic, relaxed and rest state, and allows your mind to just turn off. And if it's even for 5 minutes in the morning, it's really profound for your day. Like, don't get up in the morning and look at your phone or, look at your computer and emails. Just spend 15, 20 minutes and, write out 3 things that you're grateful for. Do a 5-minute breath work. Honestly, that alone will change the course of your entire day. And so just trying to incorporate, and maybe breathwork isn't for you, maybe you like meditation or stretching, just take some time in your day and your practice. And it doesn't need to be so intense, just 15, 30 minutes in the morning, and just allow your mind to really just kind of put yourself in the right direction for that day, I think.
Yeah, it's made a huge difference in my life. Yeah, I think that if you don't have some sort of tools to reset your mind or to get yourself out of a stressful state, or maybe those moments where you're just all wound up and angry from you just got out of traffic or something like that, or you just got in a fight with your significant other, or if you have kids, your kids are driving you nuts.
Yeah.
Just having the ability to, on the fly, just come up with a way to say, okay, let's right this ship. Let's turn it around so you don't let a bad day turn into a bad week, turn into a bad month, and all of a sudden you don't recognize yourself when you look at yourself in the mirror, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's critical to make the time for that.
Yeah, for sure, man. So is that kind of your daily ritual, success, that kind of stuff? I mean, because you've done so much in your life, and you're a young dude. You look like you're younger than me, I imagine. Is that, what do you attribute that success to so far?
I think for me, the most profound thing has been the ice bath. I find, I live a very stressful day to day, and at the end of the day, I'm so wound up. And so I find I go to Othership, I do the 2-minute ice bath, I do a 25-minute sauna, I really go deep. And every single time I walk out of there, and all my worries just seem to have washed away. And I'm in just this really just peaceful state. And so for me, especially when I'm in those really tough days, I really make a point to go and do something like that for myself. I do the morning routine. I think the morning routine, and for me, I'm not a super intense person in regards to a 2-hour morning routine. I just don't think that stuff is realistic in the longevity of it. So just really finding something for yourself that works with your own personality. And for me, it's always been 15, 20 minutes, just no phone, write out 3 things I'm grateful for, do a 5-minute breath work. That's it. And for me, that changes my direction of my morning and my day, and things happen. Throughout the day, I get so stressed and wound up, and I find that I like to end my day in the hot and cold, and it allows me to have just a really deep, relaxing sleep. And I'm out there connecting with people, and so I spend a lot of my time on Zooms and working, and it really just allows me to connect with people and get away from that mindset that the fight or flight that we're always in, especially if you live or have stress in your life.
I think it's really key to mention that fight or flight stuff, because if we don't have a reset button in our life to get us out of fight or flight, or to put us kind of in it, because sometimes the goal of ice bath is to kind of almost, for me, it's to reset my system to where everything else shuts down and all I can focus on is just breathing and fighting against my own inner bitch voice to get out of the ice bath. It's the first 45 seconds are oh man, it's cold as hell in here. Let me out. Yeah. And then 45 seconds goes by and you're oh, and then your shoulders your shivers kind of subside, and you just it starts to get enjoyable. So it's almost like you're practicing a very key life lesson of reducing delayed or encouraging delayed gratification, right? You're just putting yourself in an intentional situation that is challenging and is painful of sorts to really, well, one, have the health benefits, and 2, test your mental strength, of can you actually do it, and can you get over the first toe in the water and just embrace that suck for a little bit. Yeah. to have the long-term benefits of it. I love the little exercise and adventure around ice baths, and most people think I'm nuts. Yeah,
and I think a lot. We obviously, we're doing a lot of people through the ice baths. A lot of them are first timers, never been through an ice bath. They're really afraid of it. I can't do this. I'm afraid of the cold. And you realize that you can do anything for 2 minutes. It's just really a mental battle. Nothing about going into a 2-degree or freezing water is going to hurt you. It's really just, can you just breathe through it? And like you said, for 45 seconds, it's almost like it's like a warm blanket coming over you. You actually really get into this flow state, and you actually love it. And so for me, first 45 seconds. Even now, I do it for 3-4 times a week. Always, I get in 30 seconds. It's tough, and then after that, I love it. And I come out of there, you're just a new person. And I would really encourage anybody who's hesitant on it, just give it a shot, because I promise you, once you do this 2 to 3 times, this will be incorporated in your life, I think, forever, in my opinion.
I'm a believer, man. I'm a huge fan. So, I really appreciate you being here. And there's a couple questions that I ask every single guest as we round out the episode. First one is one of my favorites. Is, what does it mean to be a man to you?
I think for me, really, it's just being authentic. When I first think about that question, it's this, what can I say that's gonna make me feel macho or whatever it is. But really, it's just being true to yourself. And like I said, if you're having a bad day, just tell people. You don't need to always be this solid rock. And people are here, especially men. I find they're very protective of their emotions and their feelings, and really just try to open up that side of you, because this really is healing. And it's changed my life being in that world and kind of opening that side of me.
I think that we don't practice enough being our authentic self in front of people enough. People that you would deem safe, right? Because I think that we hold so much to the chest because we're fearful of being tossed out of the tribe for who we are, right? Or not being liked, or not being accepted, or being ridiculed or made fun of, or a combination of all of them. So I think that authenticity and just being yourself and being comfortable in your own skin sounds super easy to say, but it's really hard to do, man. It's not easy.
You're going to be vulnerable, right? So it's being vulnerable. Just try it, because people really connect with people that are authentic and vulnerable, and it's a better approach than just being genuine or fake, I think, in my opinion.
Telling people what you think they want to hear and all of that nice guy bullshit that most guys struggle with, to where they just I just want to tell this person or this man or this woman what I think they want to hear, so they'll like me and they'll accept me and they'll give me love, right? Which is opposite of what you need to do to actually build true connection, because people, they'll be repelled by that,
Yeah, absolutely.
So I always like to ask our guests to help break this down into baby steps and momentum, so we can get them some quick wins. So what is a quick win, something that each of the men can do right now over the next 7 days to start getting progress towards any kind of pillar that we've talked about today? What would you say for them to do for the action steps, something simple to do over the next 7 days?
Yeah. And for me, it's pretty simple, and I think everyone can do it. I think this is the morning, and so take 15, 20 minutes, wake up, don't look at your phone for that time, write 3 things you're grateful for. And just, if you meditate, do a 5-minute meditation, breath work. You can download our app. We have free sessions available. Just do 5-minute breath work. And then for the hot cold, do a cold shower. At the end of your shower, just put it on freezing cold and sit in it for 30 seconds. Even that alone will change, the way you feel. If you're stressed, just try that. And that, everyone has that opportunity to take those steps, I think, in their morning.
Thanks, man. I think that is some great steps to take towards, little baby steps to start getting some momentum towards this. So that's awesome. So I want to acknowledge you for a second, because I really appreciate you being here. And I want to just honor you for the change that you made in your life over the last decade and taking the steps towards trying to solve a problem that is going to make a huge ripple effect in this world. Where I'm sure that what you were doing before was really fun, but I'm glad that you had the courage to go on that retreat and had the courage to make that change because of the impact that you can now have in the world because you transformed yourself and took those steps. So I just want to honor and acknowledge you and just say I'm proud of the man that you've become and the man you're becoming and the service that you're giving back to the world. So just wanted to honor you for just a little bit.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. And yeah, that's the kind of the stuff we, when I'm really stressed and things aren't going well on my side, and I go into the space and I just see people come up to me and they're like, they say it to me, like, thank you. Like, this place has changed my life. And you're just like, wow, like we are actually making a difference here and this stuff matters. And so I really appreciate your words and the kindness there.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, if you guys want to follow Myles, I'll add his information to the show notes. Is Instagram the best place to connect with you, or LinkedIn, or where's your go-to social, Myles?
Yeah, Instagram and LinkedIn. Instagram is just Myles Farmer, and then LinkedIn, same thing. It's Myles with a Y. So.
Othership.co, if you guys want to take a look at, if you're in New York or Toronto or vacationing there, check out their location for sure. I personally use the Othership app, so I'm a huge believer in that. I've tried out several different breathwork and meditation apps, and this one is by far my favorite one. So, my endorsement, unpaid right now. So, just kidding. Anyway, man, well, hey, we've all gotten better from listening to Myles and his advice and his journey. So, Myles, I really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Andrew. It was a pleasure.
All right, so I'm going to end it there. So I always ask each guest to create kind of like a movie trailer for the episode, and then I'll use it to promote the episode on social media. Basically, just answering the question, why should men listen to this episode?
Okay.
So whenever you're ready, just take 30 seconds and answer the question, why should men listen? First, kind of, if you want to introduce, you start with a hook or a question or whatever, or introduce yourself, and then answer the question, why should men listen to this episode?
Hey everyone, my name is Myles Farmer. I'm the co-founder of Othership. We are a peak experience company offering physical spaces and a digital platform. I think everyone should listen to this episode if you want to learn more about hot and cold therapy, breath work, and just in general, how to really connect authentically with people around you.
Awesome. Feel good about it?
Yeah, what do you think?
It sounds great, man.
Okay, yeah.